Welcome back to another episode of JB Unsupervised. We got boy Brandon right over there. Quite the divisional round we had. We'll start it right off with Houston Texans versus the Baltimore Ravens. Obviously, Baltimore won 34-10. Um, what was your thoughts on the rookie CJ Stroud? Obviously, didn't get the job done.
I
Unfortunately,
I think CJ Stroud was overall pretty impressive to get such a young roster to the divisional round and put up to have it tied 10-10 at halftime was pretty impressive on CJ
yeah,
Stroud's part. I mean, really they should have been up 13-10 going into halftime if they don't miss that field goal.
yeah. Overall thoughts on Baltimore. Obviously, it was Houston, but nevertheless, can't take nothing away from Houston. But thoughts on Baltimore?
It's who you beat. I mean, Lamar and the Ravens haven't beat a quarterback that we consider elite. So I mean, it was a game that we figured they should have won, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
that's fair. That's fair. And then the other game we had, obviously, was the Packers and 49ers. And we could obviously say the Packers blew the game.
Yeah. I
They,
mean,
they
missed opportunities to score. It's always going to
yeah,
come back and bite you in the playoffs, especially against, the caliber of the 49ers. But I think, now you tell me, did the 49ers look as good as advertised that they've been since how they've looked throughout the whole entire season?
no, I didn't think they looked as good as advertised against the Packers.
They
Um,
they can be got. I mean, they're the no.
I think I think they can be got because when we thought about this game going in, we thought the Packers really had no chance. I mean, when you think about the 49ers from top to bottom, we've talked about this before. The the, the 49ers have a top paid guy on every position damn near on that roster. So when you think about how they've been playing, the way the defenses look since making the changes offensively, I thought this was sure going to be a blowout. Um, and it was not. The Packers basically controlled the game for the most part. They shut down Christian McCaffrey for the most part. I mean, Christian McCaffrey still got his, but they were able to contain him for the most part. They got pressure. Um, you know, um, they were able to slightly take out Debo. It came down to just the Packers again. Like I said, they blew the game. They had it. They missed. They should have. They didn't run the ball. They should have kept running the ball more. Jordan Love should have not have made that throw at the end. I don't know who he thought he was in that moment. You're not Josh Allen. You're not Patrick Mahomes. And he even admitted after he shouldn't have made that throw. But yeah, no, to answer your question, I think the Packers can't, the 49ers can't get got. Um, so
Who had a more impressive postseason run since they both was their first game? Do you think Jordan Love had a more impressive first year full time starter, or do you think CJ Stroud being a rookie had a more impressive playoff run?
see, that's a loaded question, and that's tough. I would have to say Jordan Love, and the reason I say that is because all the criticism that he took early on in the season, he's not the guy. He's not the guy. You heard people on ESPN, all the shows talking about he's not the guy. They need to look for a quarterback, and he kind of flipped the script and got it going. I mean, if you compare numbers to his and Aaron Rodgers, they were pretty identical. And if you really think about it, this is the same roster that Aaron Rodgers had, and he couldn't get them to the playoffs. Jordan Love did, got him to the divisional round. That's taking nothing away from CJ Stroud, who is a rookie, did what he did was phenomenal because no one expected CJ Stroud to play like that. They really didn't, especially being from Ohio State. Everybody knows Ohio State quarterbacks, their issues, and he hasn't shown any of them issues. So I'd have to give Jordan Love it by a notch.
Because I mean, he definitely had the bigger win over the Cowboys versus CJ Stroud getting the win over the Browns and their injured roster for
Yeah,
sure.
it would have been different if like the CJ if Deshaun Watson would have been playing and he beat that. Yeah, then I would probably say
By being a
you
rookie,
know
taking down Sean Watson and that loaded
Deshaun
Browns
Watson.
defense.
But what Jordan Love was able to do against the Dallas Cowboys and against that defense in Dallas, yeah, that was. I mean, you can't take nothing away from that. Um, then we had the Lions and Bucks. Lions won that game 31-23. What were your thoughts on the Lions? Is there any concerns for you
The
for
Lions
Detroit?
The Lions have a great offense that can move up and down the field. Jabari Gibbs, their rookie running back, has looked great. Their rookie
Joseph.
tight end, Laporta, has looked also great. Offensively, they're not really any question marks. They can run it, they can throw it if you can keep Jared Goff clean. So that wasn't much of a surprise, but their defense is by far none the worst defense that's left in the playoffs. They have a little bit of a pass rush, but their secondary is horrible. It's horrific. You can throw on them for sure.
Uh, again, what were your thoughts on Baker Mayfield's season
I think
after everything?
he definitely earned to come back and actually get a nice contract from the Bucks. I think he's earned another run at it, reload the roster for him. But I mean, try to retain the guys they need to retain. But I think Baker definitely has etched himself in as their franchise guy moving forward.
Fair enough. I think that's fair. I think Baker's definitely earned himself to stay in Tampa, regardless of where they go forward with that team, coaches, or whatever. And then the game we really need to talk about here, Kansas City versus Buffalo. Kansas City edged that game out 27-24. Before we talk about Kansas City, how much blame do you put on Josh Allen for the loss that the Bills had?
It's kind of hard to lay a lot of the loss at his feet now, but I mean, quarterbacks get all of the glory and all of the hate when they win and lose. But I mean, there's not a whole lot Josh Allen could have done more. They followed their script very well on offense, run the ball, pound the ball, bring in the extra offensive line in. And when it came time for him to get help, there was none to be had. His star wide receiver drops a 70-some yard bomb. Their rookie wide receiver drops a big bomb. There was just drops throughout the game that would have been pivotal for them moving. They kept moving and trying to potentially to score. And then again, missing field goals, leaving points out there. It will always come back to haunt you. But I think Josh Allen, again, performed great, but Patrick Mahomes performed better.
What were your thoughts on a lot of people saying that when Josh Allen threw that deep pass into the end zone that was a little underthrown because Chris Jones was able to get some pressure, push his lineman back into him, there was, on that same play, Diggs ran right across the field and wide open, and Josh didn't throw it to him. And a lot of people are criticizing Josh for not throwing him the ball. Do you think the reason Josh didn't throw the ball is because he lost confidence in Diggs?
Well, I mean, it's kind of hard to say he didn't have a little bit of loss of confidence when I think he had 8 or 9 targets, 3 catches for like 28 yards that game, and you just dropped a big bomb. I mean, I'm not thinking I'm looking to check it down to you, my guy. And considering the shot that he took was a shot that they took against the Chiefs a couple years ago with Gabe Davis, on the difference is he completed it. No one's talking about check down Charlie if he was able to step into that throw and deliver it.
The reason I ask is because people blame if Josh takes that throw to Diggs, maybe the field goal is a little bit closer. Instead, he went for the home run play. Do you think it was regardless, it's done and over with, but do you think Josh Allen made the right play going for the end zone, the home run, versus trying to just get your...
He was wide open. He was open. I mean, he's hit that throw more times than not. I mean, we saw Jordan Love, for instance, hit the exact kind of play, exact kind of route in his game, and he delivered, and they scored. So I mean, no, if you have a chance to go up 7, go up 7, knowing that you have, one of the better kickers in the league. You expect if I take the shot that I at least will be able to stay. He'll be able to tie it. I mean, I can't fault his mindset at all.
And then Kansas City. I mean, what can you say? Last year we were told it was a rebuild year. We won a Super Bowl. This year we've been told we've had a down year, and we're back in the AFC Championship game.
Yeah.
At what point are people just going to stop doubting Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, regardless of what we're going through the season?
I just think, people hate greatness. And anytime you can see a little kink in the armor, people just kind of want to jab at it. They don't like to see people succeed, which is just, I don't really understand that. Why don't you not want to enjoy the greatness of a head coach and a quarterback duo together?
The biggest thing I've seen out there, and it's been kind of annoying. Is I've heard people talk about, well, who has Kansas City really played? They played a banged up Miami Dolphins team. They played a banged up Buffalo Bills team. Now we're gonna be facing Baltimore in the AFC Championship game, and they're healthy, just like we're for the most part completely healthy. What are your thoughts on people still trying to, like you said, dig into the 2 wins that we've already gotten
Well, I
already?
mean, we played a lot. I mean, you can only play who's in front of you, and the entire point of the postseason is to be the healthiest team possible. And if you're not, you're going to get exposed. Nobody let the Chiefs off 2 years ago against Tampa, 2 or 3 years ago against Tampa, when we showed up with our JV third string offensive line in the Super Bowl. I mean, no one cares that that's what we showed up with. So you got to play with the guys that you got,
Yeah,
and that
and
nobody would give
I
any excuses to us if we were injured.
I think it frustrates me because when you really think about the Dolphins, who was really hurt on the offensive side of the ball?
Yeah,
I mean,
they had
their
Tyreek Hill, they
offensive
had Waddle, they had Mostert, they had their rookie running back. I mean, they were
That's
healthy
it. They had
across the board.
everybody. I
Defensively, I
mean,
can't help that you had injuries. I mean, you couldn't score, so you scored 7 points. I mean, that was it during that game.
yeah, yeah. That's it's a fair thing. I think it's really annoying that people try to take jobs. We could say the same thing about Baltimore. Who's Baltimore beating in the playoffs? I mean,
Yeah,
you,
Baltimore has beaten throughout the season. I mean, that's why it's kind of hard just to take a couple of games and
yeah,
like just at the postseason look at their full, entirety of their schedule that they play. I mean, Baltimore has pretty much beaten every. I mean, they stomped out the number one team in the NFC and the Niners. I mean, the Ravens have played great quality teams, but playing regular season and postseason is two different beasts.
yeah. You're not wrong. Like I had already said, it's Chiefs Ravens AFC Championship game. We got Lions Niners NFC Championship game. There's a lot of key things going on right now. We'll go ahead and start with the Kansas City Chiefs. We obviously have some injuries.
Yeah.
We got. You want to go ahead and list the injuries?
Oh, we have Willie Gay with his neck still, but he was limited in practice. Needs a little banged up. We have Joe Thuney, our all-pro left guard, who has a pec strain, and he will be definitely a game-time decision and do
Yeah.
the most he can to come out there and play. And I think we might have a couple other guys that are a little banged up. I know Kadarius Tooney's still a little banged up with his hip, but
Yeah.
and Pacheco has, I guess, a bum toe. But also, we expect all of those guys to go outside of maybe Joe Thuney.
I was about to say, how many of those guys do you expect to actually play
I expect
this
them. I
Sunday?
expect them all to go outside of maybe our left guard.
Left
Hopefully, I
guard.
mean, Kadarius Tooney, we get him out there. I mean, he's a game changer when he hangs onto the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. And then on Baltimore side, I mean, I haven't really heard anything. Baltimore's pretty much coming in healthy. Um, it's going to be a game. There's still a lot of pressure on Lamar Jackson to get this done. I mean,
Yeah,
a lot of pressure on Lamar. You're facing Patrick Mahomes, champion, and he said it pretty good in his press conference. If you want to be a champion, you have to go through a champion. And like I said, like we've talked about all week, you can't have an AFC Championship game without mentioning the Kansas City Chiefs. It seems like last 6 years.
yeah.
I mean, this is the team to go through. Yes, we're going to be in Baltimore, but like Lamar said, you still have to go through the Kansas City Chiefs
The
to get
same,
to.
the same way for the Bills. That we said it was this year. If they wanted to beat us, would be this year with
This.
our crippled quote unquote offense. If Lamar and the Ravens don't get it done, what does that mean for Lamar and his legacy and the run that they've been on this year?
I that's a valid question. It's going to be tough because Lamar has played. I think this has been his best brand of football because he's had weapons he's been able to show. But it's definitely going to hurt him because when you think of Lamar and what he's been able to do in the regular season, spectacular, flawless. But in the postseason, it hasn't always been that great. Even against the Houston game at halftime, he only had 52 yards passing,
Mm-hmm.
and you saw how frustrated he looked. He came out and the second half, and he looked like he was trying to do it on his own. And it took. I feel like Harbaugh had to really hone him down a little bit. Like, hey, you trust everybody, trust the process, trust your offensive weapons. Yes, some of them might be young. Yes, you have no Mark Andrews, but your backup tight end is playing phenomenally. Your running game, Gus Edwards has been running the ball great, but it seemed like Lamar got a little flustered in that game, and I feel like for Baltimore and Lamar Jackson, he's going to have to play a very flawless game against the Kansas City Chiefs. Everyone keeps talking about Baltimore's defense being number one. Kansas City's right there with them. It's not like there's this big gap in defenses. But yeah, no, when it comes down to his legacy, you lose this game. I mean, it's always going to be he can't get it done in the postseason. It's really what it
The
comes down
stigma
to.
would still be there that he can't beat one of the top premier quarterbacks. I mean, Mahomes is the guy of the guys, but you
Yeah.
can't beat the guys. I mean, he's played Josh Allen and he has lost. So the stigma that he can't beat the top tier guys was so thing be etched into stone. I mean, he's just one of those guys that can't get it done in the postseason. Not saying he won't ever,
Yeah,
but if
no.
he can't get it done this year, when are you going to get it done with the, like I said, number one defense, a top 10 offense, and a so-called crippled offensive Chiefs team?
Yeah, no, like I said, these are the matchups that we live for. You're
Expect
getting best versus best.
and they just came out and said that Mark Andrews he's been activated. He's a go for Sunday's game, so he will have his security blanket there. He's the number
He
one
will.
guy, so he really won't have any excuses on injury front because they are probably the healthier team top to bottom that aren't dinged up, especially getting Mark Andrews back with Isaiah Likely how he's been playing compared with Odell and
Dalvin Cook,
Flowers.
who really didn't play a whole lot in the divisional round either, so I expect to see him.
Yeah.
I would assume more in this game, especially in the passing, because Dalvin Cook can't catch out of the backfield. Like I said, again, all the pressure again is back on Lamar Jackson. I'm not saying there's not any pressure on Kansas City because obviously defending Super Bowl champs, but
You can say
I would
different
look
kind of pressure when it's a different pressure. It's pressure you also want to get to the Super Bowl, but the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, I mean, they're him. I mean, we've been there, done that. If we don't get it, but 6 straight AFC championship games. This was your first one.
I'm not saying that our Chiefs are playing with house money, but it's house money because it's all on Baltimore.
When everybody
It's
counts you out.
Yeah.
The same as last year. Everybody counted us out, and so the farther we got, the more it was like, well, I mean, obviously Mahomes and everybody takes it up a notch. I mean, Kelsey took it up a notch. What do you think would be the keys for the Chiefs to pull off a win?
For the Chiefs to pull off the win, we have to, one, contain Lamar Jackson's legs on defense.
Mm-hmm.
Defensively, can't give up the big play. We have to stop their run game because everything, in my opinion, watching Baltimore, everything goes to their run game. That's where they set the play action, their deep shots, everything, their crossing routes, everything goes to their run game when I think about that. Offensively, Patrick Mahomes is going to do his thing. Going against that defense, for our offense, we can't have key drops. We cannot leave points on the board. In my personal opinion, we can't score field goals. We have to score touchdowns. Like I said, I'm going to need a big game from Kelsey. Like MVS, I feel like we're going to need him. These are the games where he showed up. You think about last year in the AFC Championship game, it was MVS who stepped up really, really big.
Yeah.
And I'm going to need him again. Tooney, if he plays, I'm going to need him to really show the world who you really are.
Yeah.
He's taken a lot of criticism this year from Chiefs fans and football fans in general. And I would be looking for him. And we got to be able to run the ball. Pacheco's got to come in, and I would say at least anywhere between 75 and 85 yards on the ground. Those, to me, got to be the key factors. No turnovers, obviously.
To play how we played against the Bills. Play how we played the Bills on offense.
Yeah, played that, and obviously when we had Willie Gay in, Josh Allen didn't get a lot of those runs.
Right, but for the Chiefs offensively, that's how the scheme that we need to employ. Clean ball, don't turn it over, no bad penalties, and ground and pound it and take our shots when the shots are there.
Yeah, and I feel like you said, if we could contain Lamar Jackson, I think we'll be fine. Like I said,
easier said than done.
When we've talked about the defenses, everyone's been comparing the defenses, and granted, it might be biased, but I just think we have the better defense. I really do. I think we have the better corners. We have the better D linemen. Linebackers, they're pretty close. I will give Baltimore that. Linebacking core.
Yeah.
The only guy I haven't heard if he's a go yet is Marvin Humphreys.
Yeah, I haven't heard. He's still, I think, still questionable for the Ravens. That's
Still
the only like
questionable.
big name left for them,
Big name.
or not. They're gonna go or not.
I like you said, this game, like the Bills game, I think is going to be close, and it's going to come down to not leaving points on the board, and it's going to come down to touchdowns, not field goals.
Yeah.
In all honesty, and I think Kansas City wins this game 34-31. That's what I'm going with, 34-31.
Yeah, I think I'm doing picks, so I guess we'll. I also got Kansas City winning. I think it's going to probably be a similar score of the Bills game. I think you're probably going to see like a 20, 23, 28 kind of score. I think it's going to be about a 5 point difference, give or take.
That's
4 or
fair.
5 points.
That's fair. And then the NFC Championship game, we have the Detroit Lions against the San Francisco 49ers. And the Lions did pick up Zach Ertz, and I believe he is activated to their playing roster. So that's going to be interesting to see how he's going to fit in on short notice. Realistically, not a whole lot of time to get acclimated with his teammates. But what are your thoughts for this game?
We'll start with the Lions. I think for the Lions, getting Zach Ertz, that's a nice little addition. I mean, he's a hell of a running blocking tight end. So I mean, it's going to help on short yardage. But I think for the Lions, they're going to have to definitely play a clean pocket for Jared Goff. You're not going to be able to make silly mistakes. Not going to be able to have any turnovers. And I think for them, it'd be best to try to just ground and pound and don't try to run the score. Don't get into a scoring match. Try to control the time of possession and use your two-headed running backs out of the backfield to control it and take your shots when it's there, but definitely try to maintain a clean pocket because Jared Goff under pressure is not a good Jared Goff. And you probably have to keep extra bodies in anyways to protect against that ferocious 49ers D-line.
Yeah.
And defensively, got to get pressure. You got to heat up Brock Purdy. I mean, I think Brock Purdy's legs are going to be huge this game. He's a little underrated. I feel like people don't give him enough credit for how actually quick and fast he is out of the pocket. But I think if you heat him up, and if Debo does not go for them, that will be a huge break for the Niners defense. But I think they have to take away CMC regardless and let the chips fall where they may, and just try. I come after Brock Purdy. I think I would just almost send the house every time.
For Detroit to have a chance in this game, you want Brock Purdy to throw the ball. You want him throwing it downfield.
Yeah, I want him throwing it more than 8 yards down the field. I don't want him to check down Charlie to CMC or to Kittle. Yeah. I want him to have to push the ball downfield. I want to take away the short stuff, keep them in third and long. Don't let them get into anything manageable. And when you can, heat them up and try to force them into turnovers.
Yeah. Another note, Jared Goff is 0-5 against the San Francisco 49ers in his career. He's 0-5.
Well,
you
got a chance to break that, I guess, this weekend.
Break it, yes. Like you said, for the 49ers, Debo is the biggest question right now.
Mm-hmm.
The 49ers are 8-9 when Debo does not play. So that would be huge for the 49ers if they do not have Debo ready to go by this Sunday. For the 49ers to win this game, Brock's got to be, again, a flawless 2. I think still it's going to rely on CMC to get this offense going, to run the ball. George Kittle's going to be huge as well. I got the little guy crashing the podcast back behind me, as you guys see. He's just kind of roaming. But I think George Kittle is actually going to be the biggest factor in this game. When I think about Detroit's linebacker, who's going to guard George Kittle? When you think of George Kittle, though, he makes big catches, big plays, but he's a really great blocker, too. And I think he gets overlooked in the passing game sometimes. People forget who George Kittle is. And I feel like this could be a game where George Kittle could remind everybody, hey, I'm still one of these top tight ends in the National Football League. Don't forget about me.
So you think George Kittle, who was obviously probably the number 2 tight end in the league, you think George Kittle, because no disrespect to George Kittle, but you think he's going to be more important to the Niners' success on offense because, his pass blocking and really more in the run game, his run blocking and his ability to catch the ball is going to be more important than the MVP of CMC. He's a candidate. and Brock Purdy also was flirted around being in the MVP candidate. You think he's going to be more important
I
than the other
just
two
think
MVP candidates?
he's gonna be that. I'm saying if
He's
you're
going to be more like
going
the X
full,
factor.
I think he's going to be the X factor, especially if Debo's not there. And if now Debo's there, I still feel the same way if Debo's there or not there. I think George Kittle is going to be that guy because if you're Detroit, you're going to want to take away CMC. And we all know you can't take away everything. You take away one thing, something else is going to open up. And I think it will open up George Kittle to have well over 100 receiving yards in this game.
Okay.
So that's kind of how I feel about it. But this game, I'm torn between who I really want to win the game. If you want me to be honest, I'm really torn because when you look at the 49ers so we say all the pressure for a player's on Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
If you're talking about team organization pressure, it's the San Francisco 49ers.
Oh, absolutely. Top to bottom.
Like top to bottom, like they are under the most pressure to get to the Super Bowl. Not just make it to the Super Bowl, win the damn Super Bowl.
Yep.
Like to win it. They get there and don't win it, it don't mean shit.
No.
And then you got Detroit. It's kind of like this Cinderella story this season. They finally came onto the scene. Yes, they had their struggles in the regular season, had some really bad games, but also had some really good games. I don't think anyone really thought Detroit was going to be in the NFC Championship game. I will tell you right off the bat, I did not.
No.
I just wanted to see Detroit win their division, make the playoffs, and get a playoff game. I thought this would have been a run they would make in like a year or two.
Yeah.
And they have now decided to, hey, we're here. What you going to do about it? You know?
Mm-hmm.
So it's really tough to who do you really want to choose. When if it comes down to it all, I think the Debo injury for me is huge. Even if Debo goes, that shoulder's hurt him all year.
I mean, you saw what it did to Ja'Marr Chase. I mean, as a wide receiver, you got to get your hands up, and you can't get your hands up. You're going to be timid, especially playing how Debo plays. So it's going to be a factor regardless.
I think Detroit sneaks this game. I'm going to say 27 to like 20. 24. I think it's going to be like damn near 7 to 3-point game.
Mm-hmm.
I just think the Debo, and the reason I say that is because even if Debo plays, Detroit, they're a scrappy team.
Oh,
they're going to test that.
They're going to bite kneecaps, bro. They bite kneecaps. They bite kneecaps.
Like they're going to test this. So I know that might be an unpopular opinion. A lot of people might not like it. I'm going to go Detroit 27 to like 21-24. I'm going Detroit.
That's tough. That sucks. That really sucks. I don't like that pick. I really don't. Because I got the upset as well. I got Detroit, and maybe it's a little biased because even though they did get our Chiefs early, I still got Detroit winning it. I'm rooting for Detroit. They've been a long time coming to have some success there. I think, but besides that, I do think they will make one less mistake than the Niners. I think Detroit gets it done, but I think they get it done more in a blowout, more of like a 34-31 kind of game. I think both defenses are going to be exposed, even though there's nothing really exposing the Niners defense. I think the Lions control the clock, and it gets kind of into a shootout late.
To me, I think if you're Detroit...
the Lions control the clock, and it gets in kind of a little bit of a shootout late.
To me, I think, though, if you're Detroit, you watch some of the film of what the Packers were able to do. Just a little bit. You have to go watch that film.
Oh, absolutely.
But it's going to be exciting. I'm ready for this Sunday. We're just that much closer to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I really hope our team is there. Like I said, it's tough. Lions, 49ers. I don't care which one. Give them to me. But in other news, we look around the league and coaching vacancies are filling up.
Yeah.
And there's only two jobs left. That is the Washington Commanders and the Seattle Seahawks. And there are some pretty big name coaches that are still out there. Bill Belichick, Mike Vrabel, Pete Carroll is still out there.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on people passing up on these three coaches? Well, especially Bill Belichick, to me, is like the biggest.
To start, everybody keeps trying to put Bill Belichick onto the Chiefs as if Andy Reid's going to retire. He ain't going anywhere. He's already been asked. I don't know why people are having fun with it or trying to. I don't know why Adam Schefter's talking about this. Adam Schefter comes out. No, this is kind of just speculative, more fun than anything. Andy Reid's not going anywhere. He's going to coach for probably another 5-6 years. Why go anywhere when you have Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback you get to play with? I mean, no. That aside, because that's been really annoying, but that aside, it's kind of surprising that Bill Belichick hasn't had more than just one team interested in him, but you also got to think he's a big name coach, and not a lot of GMs and or owners are willing to relinquish as much responsibility that they already have to somebody. A lot of people like to kind of keep, the responsibilities they have, so it's kind of hard to find a team like that that's willing to give him
Do you think
control.
some of the comments over the past years that people have made about Bill Belichick, Edelman said that we played for Brady, but we were coached by Bill. The Patriot way, there's no Patriot way without Tom Brady. Do you feel like these are contributing factors to why teams are not wanting Bill Belichick because they've seen what he looked like without Tom Brady?
Well, I mean, it's, defensively, why would you not want Bill defensively? I mean, he still trotted out a top 10 defense even after Brady was gone and before Brady. Even his days in Cleveland, he still trotted out a top 10 defense. I don't, maybe he's had opportunities for more head coaching interviews, but he's turned them down, maybe looking more for a better situation. Maybe something kind of like Buffalo, something that he can actually, take the team and push them over the top, something more like that versus trying to rebuild something.
You go on that Rex Ryan route where you think Buffalo is going to be like Sean McDermott, there's the door. Bill Belichick stay in the division and play New England twice a year.
Why not?
Is that what you're saying?
That's what I think that would make great TV, so NFL scriptwriters make it happen. So I think it'd be great. I mean, take a team that's right there on the cusp that needs a change with the roster pretty much intact. So I could see something like that happening. Mike Vrabel, it's kind of tough. I think he will eventually land somewhere on a staff if he wants to coach, be probably on the defensive side as maybe an assistant defensive coordinator. Pete Carroll, I don't think he'll be anywhere this year. I wouldn't be surprised if he's not back coaching someplace in the NFL next year. And I don't think Bill Belichick will be a coach at all this year. I think he'll take a year off.
Okay. And then another coach we need to talk about real quick that has landed in our division that has got the world buzzing. Jim Harbaugh took the Los Angeles Chargers job, signed a 5-year deal.
Yep.
Justin Herbert now has a head coach.
They have, quote unquote, an elite head coach. So, I mean, congrats to the, Chargers for, landing, I guess, their guy. And, hopefully, he can, help, take an underachieving roster and makes him more competitive. And
is there pressure on Herbert now?
I think their
actual pressure.
Yeah, I mean, he's been compared to, Philip Rivers, fair or not fair. If you just put up good numbers, but you don't get it done, compare him to Dan Marino if you want. Puts up good numbers, but he never got it done either. So, he's a guy that goes out there, he's flashy, puts up big numbers, and that's that. And then they go home. So I think the excuse will be gone with having a coach of his caliber there.
If you're Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers, is it we want division titles, playoffs? Are they cool with being second fiddle? What do you think the expectations really is?
I think
obviously it's playoffs. But are they going to try to get into a head matching where we want to win the division titles, like we're going to dethrone Kansas City?
Well, I think everybody's been edging to outpace Kansas City, whether it be for the number 1 overall seed, let alone the division. I mean, that roster should be in the playoffs. It should have made a playoff push, and it didn't. So, no, I think winning the division is probably like step 1. And making a playoff run, and then year 2, definitely zero excuses. But I don't think they're going to have much of an excuse, depending on who they bring back, who they draft. But I think for them, it's definitely a playoff deep run, or it'll be a bust. But I think they have a 2-year gap to get it going with Jim Harbaugh there. I mean, it's do or die now. I mean, you got your guy, you got your quarterback, and a very loaded AFC with Andy Reid, Sean Payton, and now Jim Harbaugh there. I do have to ask, since he left Michigan, your thoughts on him leaving?
I just don't think Michigan was going to give in to his contract demands that he wanted of not being fined. The dean or whatever can't fire him.
What about
You okay?
What about his natty? Does it stand? Do they strip it? What happens? And do you think that's one of the reasons why he left?
Honestly, I hate to do this to Michigan fans because I know they're on a high right now with Detroit. I would absolutely be shocked if the NCAA doesn't strip them of the national championship, because when you think about the NCAA, they've done stuff like this in the past for less.
Yeah,
Like
I agree.
we've seen it.
I think that
And I'm not taking nothing away from those players. I know you worked hard. I know you did it. But when Jim Harbaugh comes out and puts demands like that in a contract, when they already offered you a contract that made you the richest coach in college football history, and then you add that, doesn't that make you feel
sounds
that
like
he
trying to
kind of knew?
plead the fifth kind of deal. Like I'm not saying I didn't. I'm not saying I didn't know about it, but unfortunately, I do think they will probably strip it. Unfortunately for Michigan, but I think that's a big factor on why he jumped ship now. I mean, why now? Why not a year or two ago? But
Yeah. So, on another note, switching completely sports here, there was some NBA stuff that happened that shook the NBA world up. Adrian Griffin, Bucks head coach, was fired
Yep.
after 42 games into the season. They're 30-11, second seed in the East. And then they quickly hired Doc Rivers, who
He's a
I
big
feel
name.
a lot of ways about Doc.
He's a big name head coach with one NBA Finals ring.
So it's.
What's your thoughts on the firing? What do you think? What's your thoughts on firing a coach that has his team second in the Eastern Conference Finals?
So I know a lot of people say that Giannis dipped into LeBron's script from 2016. And while I get it looks the same, it's a little different because David Blatt did spend one full season with the Cavs.
Mm-hmm.
And I get that the Cavs made the change into the next season about the same time that this just happened. I'm not saying I have a complete problem with it. I have a problem with it because why didn't you just see what you could have done? Figured it out. The report came out that Adrian Griffin told the guys they needed to sacrifice. What the hell do you think Doc Rivers is going to tell you or any other coach you would have brought in? So, it is what it is. I think now getting Doc puts even more pressure on the Bucks to get a chip, because if you're quote unquote dipping into the LeBron bag, LeBron got
He won the
David
chip.
Blatt fired, which no disagrees with me. He did. David Blatt and LeBron did not see eye to eye. I will give you that.
Mm-hmm.
But Giannis okayed for Adrian Griffin. He wanted Adrian Griffin. And then you got him, and then you told him to pack your goddamn bags, hit the door, and then you're telling everybody in the world that you had nothing to do with it. Giannis, just tell us that you did. We're not going to look at you any differently. We get it. You want to win.
Yeah. So
I just don't know if Doc was the right coach. We've let Doc Rivers, who I think is, again, a phenomenal coach, but we've let him live off one championship when he had multiple Hall of Famers on the roster.
So for the Bucks, they went and got Dame. Obviously, everybody's fully aware that they went and got Dame from Portland. And then mid-season, they made another big move, and they got rid of their head coach and brought in a big-name head coach in Doc Rivers off the sideline from reporting. So does that is that a do or die now move, pushing all your chips forward, starting to say, this roster can get it done? Is it consider a failure if they don't make the finals?
You have to get a chip. You have to get a chip if you're Milwaukee. Because if you're... sorry.
Whoa. Free time. Do that in your free time.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know why my computer decided to play commercials. But, you have to go get it done.
Commercials.
You have... Yeah, NBA.com.
Sure it was. Mm-hmm.
It was. If you're Milwaukee, you have to get it done. There's just no excuses.
More pressure on Milwaukee or the Celtics to get it done?
I would say, that's more pressure on Celtics and that's tough because there's equal pressure on both sides. But doing what Giannis just did, we'll say Giannis today because they're the two superstars, so they're going to get the blame. I think there's more pressure on Milwaukee. You make a change like that.
Or I mean, the Celtics they did bring in Porzingis, the unicorn. They traded away Marcus Smart. I mean, they
They
made
did.
I mean, they got rid of a star, brought in a star. They're definitely loaded up this year,
They are. They have, and
and they
they've been
have
playing for. They
same core, and haven't been able to get it done yet. Can't get past the Heat.
no have not been able to get past some teams, and but this year they're. I mean, Boston's 35-10. They are sitting at 11-1 in the division, 20-1 at home, but 15-9 on the road. So when they play at home, so pretty much what it's telling me is if you're Boston, you need home court advantage. They need the number 1 seed.
Yeah.
They got to have home court advantage right now.
Oh yeah.
But it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be a very interesting NBA season, especially after All-Star break. I think we're really going to see who the real contenders are. Obviously, we have an idea who we think are, but after the All-Star game is going to be interesting. Speaking of the All-Star game, the NBA All-Stars starters have been reviewed. We got the West and the Eastern Conference. For the Western All-Stars, we got Kevin Durant, Luka, Joker, Sugar Alexander, and sorry if I botched that name, my bad, guys. And then LeBron James, real quick, who broke Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's record for most All-Star appearances, now at 20 for LeBron. When you heard those names, there were some guys that were kind of missing.
One big name
Curry,
missing.
Kawhi Leonard,
Yeah.
Paul George, Anthony Davis. A lot of people have a fuss with Stephen Curry missing. Do you have a problem? I get it's the All-Star game, but do you have a problem with Stephen Curry not being in the All-Star game starter? Knowing how they've looked this year.
I mean, well, I think it has to take into effect how your team looks. I mean, LeBron. Obviously, the Lakers aren't doing phenomenal, but I mean, look, when you're LeBron, I mean, you're going to get a lot of votes, and he's still performing at a top 5 player level. So you can't be mad about LeBron making it or getting the team captain again. But It's kind of tough for Curry not to make it. I mean, I don't think he should have made the starter.
Since 2014, a healthy Curry's not been a starter in the All-Star game.
Yeah,
almost a decade.
I just don't think you have to have team success as well, and they have not had the team success this year. A lot of drama, I guess you will, going on there with Draymond. But, and Wiggins kind of just seems like he's kind of disappearing a little bit again. But no, I mean, you got to have team success, and it's just it's a tough one, but also tough that people try to put him as a top point guard in the league, or one of the best point guards ever, or the best point guard ever.
A lot of young talent.
And
talent coming right now.
If you're the best point guard ever, you have to make the All-Star team
as well, and that's Fox from Sacramento.
Yeah.
Fox so on the East side though, we got Joel Embiid, Giannis, Dame, Jason Tatum, and Tyrese Halliburton.
There you go.
A lot of people are fussing on that side because Dame is a starter. Now, this is the first time Dame's ever been an All-Star starter. His first time. First time. But a lot of people feel like Jalen Brunson should have been the starter for putting New York Knicks back on the map. I mean, New York is sitting 4th in the Eastern Conference. Brunson's been on a fucking tear, but they went with Dame. Do you have a problem with Dame over Brunson?
No, I mean, who has the better record? Bucks? Knicks. Bucks. I mean, so then they're obviously performing better, and it just kind of pays to be a bigger name. And kudos to Dame for finally breaking through at age like 34 at getting his first starter, All-Star starter.
Yeah, I'm actually ready for the All-Star game. We're actually going to get a little spectacular thing in the 3-point contest. Sabrina from the WNBA, New York Liberty. She broke Stephen Curry's 3-point record in the 3-point contest last season. Stephen Curry said, I got a challenger. So we're going to get a WNBA, NBA 3-point off between two of the best 3-point shooters on their respective sides of the WNBA and NBA. I'm actually excited for that. I think that's really good for women's basketball. Everyone's saying, no one's pushing women's basketball. This is pushing women's basketball forward, in my opinion. So I'm looking forward to that.
I think it's going to be good publicity for the WNBA.
Absolutely. But man, we talked about a lot today, a lot to cover. Ready for football, ready for the All-Star break. Again, I appreciate you guys coming through and joining us for another episode of J&B unsupervised. We're always unsupervised. That's why we got my little man watching over us. We got a little bit of supervision, but you guys have a great day. Don't forget to hit that subscribe.